In today's show, we have a multi-topic episode where first we discuss, is it wrong objectifying women? And secondly, we discuss, why is it American men are refusing to work?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague Taya Boya. Taya, hello my friend once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, nothing hell, Tony. What you gonna do, eh?
Come on. You know what I'm going to ask you. Say hello to our audience.
Hello, audience. Jeez.
Oh dear. At least you're not as negative as you have been in the past. I'm getting there. I'm working on you. It's taken me 3 years to get you to this stage. It'll take me another 30 to get you to be as cheery as me, perhaps.
Oh God. This episode deals, I think one of the topics in this episode deals with Americans. And coincidentally, my nephew called me, as you know, he lives in America. He called me from America yesterday to complain that his wife had put glue on his rifles. Now, I know his wife, and I'm like, look, I don't know what you did to annoy her, but maybe guilty conscience or something. But I know her; she's very reasonable, very placid, affable woman, and I'm pretty sure there's been some kind of miscommunication or something. She's just not that kind of woman. My nephew listened carefully to everything I had to say, but you know what? He's sticking to his guns.
Oh.
It's nice. You like it?
Okay, I'll give you that one.
You like it? Okay.
Indeed. Anyway, on with
that little groan before he started laughing. That's what I live for nowadays.
Oh dear, that's a real dad joke. But hey, I'm gonna move on. Right, before we begin the topic for today, I'm going to ask again our listeners and viewers out there if they'd be kind enough to like, comment, or just say hello even on any of the platforms that you happen to be digesting our content on, whether it's audio only or whether it's visual as well. Just say things like, what you like about the show, what you dislike, any topics you think that we should cover or perhaps recover if we've already spoken about them. But so yeah, and we value all comments that come through, so please keep those coming in. Thank you. Right, now let's move on with today's show. Time permitting, we'll try and get through more than one topic, but the one we want to start off with again is one that Taya come up with, and the question is it wrong to objectify women? Taya, you chose this, so do you want to kick things off?
It's just a common known complaint by certain women that men objectify them. And I guess I found it upsetting because it seems to me that the women who complain about men objectifying women are usually pug ugly and not anyone that anyone is going to objectify. So it's like, I'm sorry, you don't have a dog in the fight. What the hell are you complaining about?
Are you sure you've got evidence to back up that claim?
I just say it's just my impression. I'm not putting it forward as gospel, but it's certainly my impression because beautiful women seldom say that men objectify. You don't hear them complaining about it. You might hear them complaining about someone with catcalling or something. And they usually complain about that until they're 30, and then it stops, and then all of a sudden they go, men are pigs, and they don't pay me any attention anymore. So anyway, it's just the hypocrisy of it, and two, the double standard in the sense that women objectify men. And why do men accept the accusation without pointing out the counterpoint? Because today, when I was discussing this episode at work, I work with a lot of women, and I was saying this is what I'm going to talk about tonight. And a lot of women, yeah, we shouldn't. I said, but you guys do it too. And why weren't you upset about it when you hear women objectifying men? You're not upset. It's only when men do it to you that you're upset. That's hypocrisy and all that. And they didn't really have a comeback. So yeah, and then what I really want, I mean, that could just basically be the end of this video, but no, because when you drill down to it and then you ask, well, what do you mean by we objectify you? Then you get different responses, and so I thought maybe you'd come up with something, and I'm interested to hear what you'd say.
There's actually this is actually a theory. Did you know that? It's called intimacy theory, and it actually it's been discussed, and there's white papers written on it, etc. That in actual fact, what you've highlighted to some degree is true, where if women are getting attention from men, as long as it's not negative, this is the key, okay, as long as it's not negative comments or nasty comments, most women actually like it. And it depends on who the person is, mind you.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah, because there's different levels. There's who the person, where it's coming from, for instance. So for instance, if it's a partner, it's not sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost expected by a female. If they're in a relationship with a partner, they want their partner to objectify them at certain times.
But what do we mean by objectifying is what I want to hear from you.
Find them desirable, their shape, their body.
Is that what objectify really means?
Well, it's treating the body like an object almost, rather than a person. That's what it is. But in the bedroom, not saying all women, mind you, but a number of women, as studies seem to show, that actually enjoy that as part of role playing with a partner that they're happy with. So there's an element of wanting it to happen, but in the bedroom with an intimate partner who they trust, who they love. So for women to be angry or upset with men who do this, it's probably not all men, but it comes across that way, because there are close partners and intimate partners that they actually enjoy it when it happens. Even if they're not in a relationship, perhaps a trusted friend, even that. But then when it starts to water down, when they don't like it, is just a colleague, say, or the worst case, they don't like it from strangers. It just makes them feel inferior, demeans them, etc. So the I can't even say this word, objectification of women isn't a yes or no flat answer. There are stages, and most women who are in the bedroom with a partner that they care about and can be intimate with actually enjoy it to a degree, as long as there's no it doesn't turn any nastiness or anything like that, but it's part of the intimacy stage of a relationship.
You see, I call BS on that, and I'll tell you why.
What, completely?
Yes, I'll tell you why. Oh, okay. To me, objectification is treating someone as an object, because rather than as a person.
Yeah.
So let's take this example of a workman. I mean, the famous builder on a ladder, and a pretty woman walks past. If he treats her as a person, he might know her. He might shout out, "Hey, Janet," or Susan, or Jane, or whatever. "Hey, Mary, My goodness, you're looking lovely today. How are things going? Now, okay. Under those circumstances, I don't think that would count as objectification.
Okay.
I think that would count as passing a compliment.
Yeah.
It's by name. Hi,
So
Jane.
is
You're
it
looking.
is it the word that's been misinterpreted there?
No, no. I'm just telling you what I think
Okay.
objectification is. You know this person. You know that usually she looks one way, but this time she looks another way. She looks, she's different. Yes, and you're complimenting her. Oh, you're looking particularly fine this morning. Something like that. Okay, that would be personal. It's not treating person as an object. On the other hand, you turn this builder turns around and he just sees this pretty woman in a tight dress, and she's flouncing down the street, and he catcalls her. He doesn't know her from Adam, so he just catcalls her, and she is basically an impersonal piece of flesh. It's just he doesn't know anything about her, and that's where he's treating her as a sexy object, if you want.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in that sense, that would be objectification, and I call BS on any complaints because, as I said, she's flouncing down the street in a tight dress. So she is acting as she is dressed to get certain type of male attention.
It
And
may
when
not
she
necessarily
gets
be
it,
male attention, mightn't it? Just
well,
be
I'm talking,
attention.
well, it is male attention. I mean, she's dressed to attract the male gaze, as the
That
feminists
could
like to
be a
call it.
turn on for a female too, who are lesbian, for instance. There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong with that.
I don't deal with that side of society, man. You know me, I'm
Okay.
black and white. Anyway, I'm not going to say anything. Yeah, I don't care what those people think. So I just normal human being, normal, sort of 96% humans. She's dressed in such a way that would attract that kind of attention. And what the manosphere has noticed is that these women that complain about that kind of attention who don't complain when they get it from people like Leo. Our famous example is Leonardo DiCaprio or Dwayne Johnson, the Rock, and people like that. Isn't it funny how handsome, rich men don't seem to objectify them, but your slob of an average Joe with his the beard gut hanging over his that objectifies them. And then these are the same people who turn around, and these women are the very same people who turn around and talk about the men with the 6 6s. Now, I don't
What
know.
do you mean by that? Sorry, I'm not familiar with that.
It's a term. It's a term we use, and they have all the sixes. Um, 6 foot tall,
Yeah.
six pack, earns six figures, and has a what's it called again? Thomas John was it? You know what I mean? Your implement.
Oh,
Uh,
John Thomas.
Yeah, John Thomas is at least 6 inches. These are the 6 6s. These are the 6s, right? So when they talk about it online, so what are they doing? And then they're talking about certain men. Oh yeah, he's got this, he's got that, but he hasn't got the other thing. So do you know something? Cry me a river. You hand it out, you've got to be able to take it. Okay? There's nothing special. There's no reason why women should be treated any differently from men. They've asked for equity. Welcome to the equitable world. You do it, we do it,
Well,
and I don't give a
there
thing.
is an element there, absolutely, because you can't have it both ways. I suppose if you're going to put that argument across, you can't ask for equality and then I get that, but there's being respectful too, isn't there? I mean,
It's
you
not
can.
disrespectful to think that. I don't know you. When I call out, when I or anyone calls out, I mean I wouldn't because I'm nicked out. But when someone calls out at a woman and cat calls or something, it's you choose to interpret it as being offensive.
Absolutely, I get that.
You could actually interpret it as being what it's actually meant to be. It's a compliment. It's a crude one, and you might object to the crudity, but not everybody is sophisticated. Some people just catcall, and they've forgotten about you. As you turn the corner, they've forgotten about you 6 seconds later. There's no I don't think there's any malice.
Well, you know that it's an offence now to
Well,
actually
because
whistle, isn't it?
men in the West are a bunch of dickheads. That's why. What a bunch of idiots. Why would we allow that to become? It's such a bunch of pussies, man. Why on earth would we allow that to become the law? We've got to start sticking up for ourselves, which is what I'm doing, and which is what I did at work today. And I said, absolutely not. I'm putting my foot down, and I don't care what you think, because men have got to start sticking up for themselves and say nonsense. If you
Well,
don't want the catcalls, dress in the appropriate fashion, and nobody will catcall you. Nobody catcalls the butch, the butch woman with the short hair and she's marching down the street like
so, but you're saying, therefore, that you're preventing women from expressing what they want to do, how they want to dress, because they're now having to be mindful of blokes, and it's mainly blokes, being not aggressive but suggestive in their way of doing it. I mean, let's say someone was really polite and there was an attractive woman walked past, and someone came up and said, a builder even, but instead said, excuse me, my dear, I just think you look stunning today. I hope you have a great day.
You'll probably be accused of sexual harassment.
But it's not necessarily the words, it's also how you say it. And if a woman took offence to that, even if the person was not 666 as has been portrayed like in your example, that's still a human being polite. So they're taking umbrage from someone paying them a compliment. That I don't understand. I must be honest, I don't understand.
Well,
Because go on.
we don't even have to get to that stage. You open the door for some women, some of these modern feminists. You open the door for one of them. They give you a filthy look, and they say, I can open the door for myself.
I know, but I've got manners and I'm opening
And
the
then,
door. It doesn't matter
and
if
then
you're
they
a
go
female.
onto the internet, and then they go onto the internet and start saying, can you imagine this pig thought I couldn't open the door and this and that, and then it all becomes a problem.
Yeah,
Who
but
knows how long it's going to
not a
be?
problem though, is it? Because
Well,
if
how
I
long?
open the door, I'm doing it because I want to do it.
How
Whether
long is
they
it going to
object,
be?
it's not my business. It's
How
their
long?
business. Do
How
you see what I
long?
mean?
How long is it going to be before opening a door for a woman becomes an offense? The way we're going, the way we're so pussified in the West that we just sit back and we stop acting like men. We stop taking the lead and stop saying this is nonsense. We're putting our foot down. It is our society. We built the damn thing, and we're
Well,
not taking
yeah,
we're not
okay.
taking it. We're not taking it anymore.
No,
And
we're
that's
not.
the only way. That's the only way to actually lead. Now, if a woman is dressed, I'm going to go to the extreme. If she's dressed in a hijab, and you're catcalling her, I mean, frankly, I don't know why you catcall a woman in a hijab. But, oh, look at those ankles. No, I can't whistle, so that's unfortunate. But, oh, look at those ankles, and you catcall. Then, well, he's not really you. He's not even objectifying you because he doesn't see you, he just sees your ankles. I don't know what you're getting upset about. And B, I really don't think that would happen in real life.
No, probably
Right?
not.
So we know that when you say you're dressing for yourself or you have a right to dress, look, for me, I don't think it's the law, but for me, you can go out in the bikini. But what you can't do is dress in a bikini and expect to be treated like somebody who wears a hijab. That's illogical. So if you're dressed to kill and you actually succeed in killing, what are you complaining about? What's the problem? You want to be able to select. No, he can react that way, but he can't. It's not how it works.
No.
Now, I know that women operate on feelings and not logic. So we being the logical ones, we have to say, no, we're not tolerating that nonsense. You must understand the effect that your dress has. I mean, you run up to somebody in this country, you see someone dressed in a blue and yellow uniform with a little badge here and a little this and radio on the shoulder and strap, and you're in trouble. You run up and you say, hey, officer. And then the person can't be offended and say, why do you think I'm an officer? I say, well, because you're dressed like a policeman. So you're dressed like a policeman. I assume you're a policeman. I didn't mean to be offensive. And it's the same thing. The woman. If a woman is running around dressed like a pole dancer, and then we treat her like a pole dancer, she has no right to be upset because we think because she's
Okay,
in
so
uniform.
where's that crossover point? Because that happens now when a woman's just wearing a business suit with a skirt to her knees. She's just attractive, blonde hair, but in
Yeah,
a suit.
yeah.
What's that? And they still
But,
get catcalled.
but I
Now,
think
they're not looking for that, but they get it. So that clearly isn't right.
she's lucky. She's lucky. She's attractive. She's attractive. What she can work, she can wear a burqa, and then nobody will say it. Just the thick thing, with and no lady eyes, and nobody's going to catcall her if that's what she really wants. Or she can be patient, because when she hits 30, 31, it'll stop, and then and
That's a
then
bit
she'll
harsh.
regret. But that's she hits the wall, and then all these things stop, and then they say when they're 32, 33, they go online. Don't forget, the Manosphere gets a lot of its material from visiting women's pages. Just find out what women are doing, and not me, but others do. And then they bring you back and say, look at what they're talking about here. And then they start saying, yeah, what's the matter? Where have all the good men gone? What's going on? Oh, what's going on, my dear, is that you've hit the freaking wall. So enjoy whilst it lasts is my advice to women out there. It ain't gonna last forever. That's a promise.
So, what do you think of that other point that I said regarding some women actually enjoy it?
And of course, women enjoy it. They don't enjoy it. They make bank. They make money from it. What is OnlyFans?
Well,
What is
that
OnlyFans?
that's yeah.
I mean, what is that? You're making money from it. Nobody forced, it's not one of these things where they say it's white slavery and we've gone and kidnapped people and forced them in front of the camera. No, you did that on your own top, and you're earning £500,000 or $500,000 a year from it.
I
And
know.
that's the male gaze. So why don't we start off with saying, okay, I mean, it's never happened. Let's say to the women, let's ban OnlyFans then. There'll be uproar. But we're modern women, we can do what we want, blah, blah, blah.
They're earning a living on there, yeah, and it's being affected by some. But there was a call to get that banned by feminists in the States because they were saying that the women on there are being objectified and they're
Hmm.
doing it for the benefit of men. But they're getting paid. Like you said, they're choosing to do it. It's not. I mean, there are going to be some examples of some that are not clearly, but that I would have thought is a smaller number to the number of people that operate on that platform. And a lot of them are on there for their own reasons and to earn money. And some earn some amazing income from that site. I mean, we're not promoting it on here. That's not the aim of the show. But there are many people on that one, plus that and a few others, where they earn a living more than they would if they worked a job just by parading themselves, and men are paying to watch them like peep shows in the past. If obviously some of
Hmm.
our younger audience aren't aware of what these are, but in the past there used to be things called peep shows
Hmm.
where men would go along and they had these little slits that they'd look through, and behind the slits there was a female or several females parading about in skimpy clothing, and men paid money to look through the peephole. So obviously the women couldn't see who was looking, but the men were obviously looking and getting a thrill out of it. OnlyFans and the ilk are just playing on that and obviously monetizing it for the individual far more than those peep shows did in the past. And I'm not saying any of them is right or wrong. It's just something that's out there that people are wanting to do, and they're earning money from it. But to
Because
stop it, I don't know.
some feminists are to women's income what Peter Dinklage is to short actors in Hollywood. because because he wrecks. I mean, he's in big trouble with short men, isn't he? For his
Why?
comments on Hollywood. Um, what was on Hollywood's? There's this exploitation of short people, which you complained about, and that is why Disney's new Snow White doesn't feature seven dwarfs, but seven diverse people.
Oh,
There's only one short person amongst them.
what?
And so a lot of the other short actors are like, it's all very well. You've made your millions. We're trying to get into the business, and you made it incredibly difficult for me. This is what I think about feminists who do you remember that there used to be these girls that walked around the boxing ring during
Oh yes, holding
during
the
rounds,
number up
holding the
and
number of
yeah,
the next round.
next round. Yeah,
They got rid of them, didn't
yeah,
they?
they did. A
They
lot of
got
women
rid.
complained. The ones who lost their jobs.
The pretty ones complain,
Yeah, yeah,
and
they lost
then
their jobs. Yeah.
they lost their jobs. The page three girls have lost their opportunities, if you like. The ones that I think they're dressed differently now, but they still exist. The Formula One girls, when the winner on the winners podium, they used to be more skimpily dressed. I
No,
think.
no, they don't do that anymore. They
Oh, they
don't do
don't.
that. No,
So they
no.
lost their jobs too.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, don't see
Excellent.
them anymore. I mean, you do them. You still see some in the hallway clapping the drivers as they go through,
Mm.
but that's not in every race. It tends to be more the Far East races. The ones in Europe and America, no, none of that. They're just literally in a room, and then they called out and they go out onto the podium. So yeah, all of that has gone. So yeah, you're right. If those people had jobs, no jobs anymore. So this, what's the end game here? What's
So
the
the
end
end game
game?
is envy. It is pure spiteful envy.
Is
And
it
there's
envy
always
or is it just a neutrality? Everyone wants neutrality.
it is always the ugly ones that complain.
That's
It is
rather
always
harsh. You can't say that.
I say it and I challenge someone, just show me a video, if you don't mind, of a pretty woman complaining. Just that's all. That's how to confound me. Show me a pretty woman complaining about these
Well,
things. Because all
I
the
think
feminists, they're all not anyone, and no one's going to catcall them. This is the point I'm trying to make.
that's not true. That's not true. I mean, you're gonna find people from different backgrounds and looks and whatever. And it's
Imagine
not
being,
just
imagine being ugly and you're following a pretty. Imagine being an ugly woman and you're following a pretty woman and you're walking past builders and they catcall the 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 pretty woman and then you pass and then there's this silence. I know sometimes silence can be louder than a noise. There's this silence.
I'm not convinced of that. I'm not sure that that was necessarily a good place because let's be honest, that's in the open. If you're gonna allow this, because clearly it does happen,
It must be have so horrendous to be in this day and age where so many people are so superficial that it's just the skin deep beauty they look at because they don't have the inclination to go beneath the skin and to see the inner beauty, which really does exist, right? So imagine the various insults when you're growing up being not one of the pretty ones. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because this would be affecting you from puberty. It's not going to just suddenly manifest
well,
itself
no,
in your
that's not
20s.
true because sometimes you get people who go through their younger years and they're not, maybe overweight, maybe not feeling great about themselves, and they go through puberty, they change,
The
they
ugly
decide
duckling
to get
syndrome.
fit. The what?
The ugly duckling
Yeah,
syndrome. Yeah.
effectively.
But why are you going for the edge case? No, I'm
No,
not
I'm not
talking about
saying
the edge
that's
case.
not always the case. No,
I'm,
everyone. That's
so
not
I'm
always the case.
I'm talking about the usual, the normal, the standard thing is that there are these. I mean, don't forget, I'm a teacher. There are these girls who are not as pretty as the other girls, and it must be. I mean, putting myself in the head, it must be a constant pitter patter of small micro insults.
Well, it's not micro insults. It's not affirming. So you're not hearing enough. Oh, you're pretty. You're attractive. You
You're not
can do
hearing
good
any.
things.
Not
No, I
not not
know.
enough.
So confidence, their self belief and confidence takes a hit. Of course it does, and that
Yeah.
then is brought into adulthood, and that could be negative.
Exactly.
But it takes a
So
while for
they
that to
they
fit.
are the ones who are upset by these things because they will never compete on an
Well,
even
that's not true because
on an
nowadays,
even on
with
an
the
even
advent
keel.
of medical procedures, good makeup, good. They can compete. Everyone can compete to a degree. So to say that they never
I think
compete is too extreme.
even makeup has got its limits, man. It's not magical, you know. Some dogs out there, there's no hope, man.
Oh, stop that! Stop that!
It's just no look. Some guys are dogs too. What the hell, man? What
Yeah,
are
I
you talking
know.
about?
There's
So
more
what
big
does
ugly
anybody
guys than there are women. Let's be honest.
exactly? And who's weeping for them? So let's not be sexist there, okay? It's like equality on a TNT talk show. Men and women are treated equally. Hey, the women got what they want. Well done.
Okay. So is there a case here? Is there something that should be that we should then continue on or not? Is it
Absolutely 100% not. It's a lot of baloney. There's nothing to see here. Joke on it. If you don't like it, dress appropriately, and you'll be fine. You'll be left alone.
what about
That's
the reverse where people are not objectifying but instead making comments? Let's say someone, a female again in particular, because that tends to be the case, that happens more so than the other way round. But let's say a female is overweight or slightly overweight and maybe is self-conscious about her breasts or something like that,
mm,
and then you get men highlighting it in a
that's
negative way, not necessarily
that to
negative,
me is a
but
problem. That's a problem. That's unkind. See the
and that's the
catcalling.
problem. You see, this is the issue here. It's not the comments that are just perhaps a wolf whistle
Mm,
or something that's a compliment. Oh, you're lovely, darling, or something like that. See, those are fine. But what
mm,
tends to happen is when you allow that, a lot of men can take it to a stage too far. And
mm,
so nipping it early in the bud and saying, look, because you guys, unfortunately, a big chunk of you cannot hold back with your comments, they've had to stop it. And the few who have been over the top and been nasty or said things which, if you heard them, you thought, come on, that's out of order. Because of those few incidents, the vast majority, or perhaps have been okay with a friendly wolf whistle or tried to be polite to a female, they've lost that. And
mm.
the same happens in society. If you have a few people that are negative or do something wrong, then it will affect, if it gets too much, it will affect the majority because they'll have to stop it. And the same will happen with social media. If social media, there gets to a point where things get so out of hand, there'll be rules that are brought in that say, no, you can't do that. X, Y, Z. It's the way society operates, unfortunately. If something gets out of hand, decisions are made and said, rightly or wrongly, okay, we have to introduce a rule that says you can't do it. And that's exactly what's happened with the scenario with builders in a building site. Nobody now can wolf whistle or make comments because that's been taken away because of a few that have wrecked it and created an issue.
Well, isn't it the law is against wolf whistling, which, by the way, is usually meant as a compliment,
It is, yeah, but
right?
it's
And I
perceived
don't know,
incorrect.
is there a law that actually stops what you have just highlighted? I don't think you get into trouble if you say unkind things to, especially in America, not about the UK, because in America you've got the First Amendment, the right to free speech. And I'd be very surprised in America, has anybody actually tested this wolf whistle thing in court in America? Because it contradicts the right to free speech. If someone wolf whistles, they're just expressing their free speech. How are you gonna, with the Constitution being what it is, how are you gonna complain about that? Now in the UK, yeah, it could be a problem. You could be done for it. But I don't know anybody who's been done for what we now call I think we call it fat shaming now or something like that, isn't it? Isn't that it?
Fat shaming, yeah,
Maybe,
possibly.
maybe it's a hate crime. Yeah, it could be a hate crime. If you use a certain form of words, that could be a hate crime. If you generalize it from that particular person to the entire group, let me put it like this: oh, all you fatties are boom. All you, right? instantly, that's a hate crime. Okay? Because it now goes to the group, isn't it? It's a group thing. But if you're just attacking one person, or you're saying, oh, person, or you short, or you dwarves, or I don't know, what do you call them now? Little people? What is the
I don't know.
preferred? Well, all you little people are blah, blah, blah. All you, hate crime. You little person, free speech. Do you see what I'm saying?
Really? Even if you're insulting and
No,
being
if you're
derogatory on somebody,
well, if
that's
you're
free speech, is
insulting,
it?
there's a catch-all there's a catch-all crime. A Nigerian police officer told me this. He said we have a catch-all. It catches, when we want to just catch you, we just say affray, public disorder. It catches everything. Anything we don't know, we just say affray.
Well,
Nah,
that's the law over here.
sorry, yeah,
Absolutely,
exactly.
yes, indeed.
If they want to nail you, if you're in public and you do something they don't like, it's affray, and they'll probably get you. So you're in public and you're insulting someone. Well, think about what happens when you're in court for public disorder and affray.
Okay, I'm
We need to
mindful
get it.
of here.
We need to get a lawyer now on one of these episodes because I got so many questions to ask. In an aside, and I know it's going to annoy Jonathan. Hello, Jonathan. Long time no talk. I know it's going to annoy Jonathan, who's one of our avid listeners, and he hates my asides. But in an aside, today, one of my students is going to be he told me he's going to be appearing in court
Oh,
on Friday.
you allowed to say this, by the way?
Yeah, I'm not going to identify him.
Oh, okay.
One of my students told me he's going to appear in court on Friday for a fight outside the school premises, and he's appearing on a charge of common assault.
What?
Now he's 15. And I was looking it up. It's like, how on earth is a 15-year-old? What's going on? I said, have you crossed paths with the police before? He was like, no. Anyway, that's why I said we need a lawyer. So if any of our listeners is a lawyer, a solicitor, and would like to come on, please get in touch. Like Tony always says, there's plenty of ways you can get in touch with us. We'd like to hear from you. We need someone who, for once, on our shows, knows what they're talking about. Because Tony and I, we've never pretended to know what the hell we're talking about. Okay.
I mean, we do. It's like us. We're like two guys sitting over a drink and discussing topics. We're not obviously experts in any of these. We just do it because for the love of the conversation, and hopefully you, the listeners and viewers, are enjoying that too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be tuning in your numbers that you do. So hopefully that's a valid point there. But yeah, we don't have actually any real knowledge and expertise in some of these topics. I mean, some we do, but the majority we don't.
Don't say that, Tony. No, we said we don't know anything. It's one of the joys of the TNT talk show. A couple of people got absolutely no idea what the hell they're talking about, but hopefully they're so affable and that you like watching. So if you're a solicitor or a lawyer, a solicitor in the UK, if you're a lawyer, please get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay. Now, there's a question I want to actually ask before we move on to another topic. Now, is objectification part of appearance of a female's body, or the way the body behaves? Now, let me clarify here. Could it be just that the woman is thin, tall, big, or is it the way? Because any woman could walk a certain way if they have a double pelvic tilt. Those of you who don't understand what that is, you've probably seen it on a catwalk. The models do it on purpose. What they do is they step forward and the one foot then crosses the other. And as they walk, they're literally, I mean, I'll show it for our viewers who can see. Obviously, the people listening won't know this, but you're actually stepping forward and you're actually crossing the foot in front. And that's called a double pelvic tilt. And that stepping, if you've not noticed it before, go to YouTube and look at catwalk models. They purposely do this walk, which is an exaggerated crossover with their legs. The reason for that, it accentuates the hips. The hips then move up and down more. And that naturally, there seems to be some biological thing in a male, the male will be attracted to that. So it doesn't necessarily matter if the female, as we've already touched upon, is super attractive. It doesn't. There could be just the simple way that they walk, which creates an attraction to the man. Now, so it's not necessarily just the looks, it's the way the body's functioning. And that is also a way of objectification. And so that's something, if our female listeners out there want to try, they can do that. If they walk into a room, you know, they may believe themselves they're not the prettiest entering the room. If they walk and casually do this and practice it beforehand, they will notice more men look at them. It's a strange phenomenon, but it happens and it works. So that's something to consider. It's a biological thing in a man. Their eyes are drawn to double pelvic tilt. That's why catwalk models do it, because it draws the eye, which is the purpose of them being on a catwalk, of course. But that's one of the things that seems to be a biological thing with a man, strangely. But there you go. So it doesn't necessarily have to be looks. It could be function of the body. So if a woman could do that, then they would get that. And consequently, don't do it if you don't want the people to look. In fact, if you change your stance to a male walk, which is more in a straight line, even if you are attractive, you're less likely to be catcalled. So there's that as well, which is a real phenomena that you think, oh, okay. Because historically, a woman's dress, for instance, when they were tight, they were, I can't remember the name of these dresses, that go over the hips, but they actually come down the leg quite tight. So the woman actually hasn't got a lot of movement with her legs. So this double pelvic tilt is almost forced by the nature of the clothing. So the dress or what have you, which is tight, forces that movement and the hips move. And that accentuates the hip movement, which then attracts the male eye. So the clothes were designed to do that. So women wearing trousers, for instance, and walking straighter, you get less of that happening. So less men would notice. If that is something that women are still concerned about and want to address. But the law in the UK in particular, you can't wolf whistle. In fact,
the thing is, the modern woman, the feminist, they don't want to have to change anything. They want men to change. So what you're asking them to do, they'll find highly offensive. They say, we don't have to change. Men have to change the mentality for us. And that nonsense and that nonsensical attitude is going to continue until men remember their Y chromosomes and say, stuff you, we're not going to change. What are you going to do about it? I mean, we've really just got to stand up, look them eye to eye and say, you know, all the nonsense years, they've arrived, they've been, and now they're gone.
As long as, see, obviously I'm a man, I can't comment being on the receiving end, although I have been on the receiving end of female objectifying me a long time ago when I was a lot younger.
Tell us. No, seriously, tell us. I will tell.
This is a couple of occasions. Well, one occasion I was duped into being on a catwalk, would you believe? Duped, yes, by a close friend of mine. There's a story in this, but I'll explain it very quickly. I used to have long hair when I was younger. Now, obviously, that is hard to believe. Now I've got none at all.
Is this a fable?
No. This is actual fact. Okay. And a friend of mine said to me, Tony, would you? Because he was a hairdresser. He said, would you want a free haircut? And being a student just out of college, obviously free was a good word to hear. Yeah. You know, didn't have to pay for it.
Still is, by the way.
This sounds great. And so anyway, so I agreed, and he said, yeah, come along to the where we are, and we're in a college. We're actually in the college giving free haircuts. I thought, that's a bit weird. Why in the college? And so I went along, and lo and behold, they had a competition going on, and it was a hairdressing competition, and there was all these women in there having their hair done, and I was the solitary guy, and I was going to kill my friend. Literally. But he said, Tony, please, I need your help. I need you to do this for me. Please, please, please. You know, I'll you know, you're one of my bestest friends. You know, you can't let me down. I need you to be my model for today. And I was like, oh my God. I'm not going to name him because I haven't spoke to him for a long time since. But I went ahead and did it, and I was the only guy, and they prepped me on how to walk down the catwalk. And there was about 2,000 people in this hall, and I was given a number on my wrist, and I actually had to go down. Obviously the girls were going there parading their hair, and I'm parading my hair done by my friend. And I got wolf whistled lots because I was the only guy, by men and women as I was doing this. So that was a very embarrassing situation. I did it, and I didn't speak to him for years after for putting me in there. But I did it, and I saved his bacon. I think he was doing it for an assessment. I think it was because a lot of the people that were there were in this competition to be assessed, and I think a lot of them were getting not scholarship, but equivalent. That they were getting a grant to then learn their trade far more. And this competition with catwalk models was part of that, and because I had long hair, he asked me, and there you go. That's the story of the catwalk. True story.
Tony's long-haired objectification.
It happened to me in a nightclub as well one time, where yes, again, I was in there, and I had to go through this group of girls, and there must have been about 20 of them. And yeah, I was bum pinched, bum smacked. All sorts of things happen as I
see. That's not what I mean. But that's not what I mean by objectification. So this is why I asked us. This is why I asked that we start with a definition, because to me that's not object. I mean, I can see why you would say it's objectification, but to me that has crossed over to sexual harassment. I mean, physical. Once you touch a person, you've left objectification, and you've now crossed over to a very dark realm.
But you must understand, this is a long time ago. Things were very different.
I do understand.
Yeah, so,
but I still say absolutely not. That is not acceptable.
No, I agree. I felt a bit intimidated. I didn't mind so much because you think, oh wow, this is the great attention. I've never had this before. However, it was a little bit much when you're getting several arse pinches. So you know, one started to pinch my bum.
I can't help thinking that you put out the vibe.
I put out the vibe.
Seriously, I can't. I feel you put out the vibe. I've been surrounded by lots of women, but even before all this started, I think I put out something, and you would never think of you're just not going to do it, man.
Let me set the scene a bit more then. It was a nightclub. Girls had been drinking, felt brave. I was only me and my friend that were out in the nightclub that night. I think they realised there was only two of us. There was a whole heap of them. I don't know what they were out. There was loads of them. Loads. And we had to both go through them, but I got pinched bum because I was behind him. So he didn't. He just got wolf whistled. I got wolf whistled and bum pinched by two or three of them, actually. It wasn't just one. So yeah, but they were drunk as well.
Yeah,
which
alcohol,
happens.
right?
Yeah, alcohol induced.
Well, I've been in nightclubs. Oh, maybe I'm just not as hot as I think I am, but being 6'4" and all that sort of thing. Apart from the six-figure income, which they don't know, by the way. I still think so. Maybe there is something to, like, some people put out the vibe,
possibly,
and they attract that kind of.
Well, it's not that. I mean, it's not happened.
I get the
since,
comments, but I don't get the won't touch because I don't think I tolerate that.
I've never had touch. I've had comments in the past, but never had touch. But I've never been offended, and I wasn't really offended here. I mean, granted, pinching bums was a bit. But if you used to go to Italy, for instance, many years ago, guys would openly pinch girls' bums. It was a thing.
I heard about them.
Yeah, happened all the time. I mean, now thankfully that's all gone,
Hmm.
but you're talking 30 years ago, perhaps. Yeah, if women went on holiday and they were mildly attractive, a guy would walk past and pinch their bum. It just,
Is that why the women insisted on going to Italy?
yeah, there was a lot of that.
That's why they insisted. Look, I'm going to Italy. Dang it. I don't care what you say.
Honestly, it did happen quite a lot, actually. So, yeah, women were warned about that. But anyway, let's sum up here because I want to talk
I want
very
to give
briefly on
two-
another topic.
I want to give two instances for our audience.
Okay.
And they might want to know, why do I know this? All I can say is I pay attention. If you want to see swaying hips, such as Tony's talking about, and not necessarily the double swivel or whatever you call
Double
it,
pelvic tilt.
double pelvic tilt,
Mm-hmm.
which I've never heard of until tonight. Don't you learn all sorts of curious and wonderful things on the TNT television? If you want to watch that, there's a film called I Could Never Be Your Woman, starring Michelle Pfeiffer. And if you fast forward all the way to the end, basically the closing scene just before the credits, she's walking away from the camera, and she does this amazing walk. I mean, it's just notable. It's notable. It's as notable as a very famous scene from the blonde bombshell. What was the name? No, that's James Manfield. What's the name of the actress who sang to Happy Birthday, Mr. President? The very famous 50s and 60s actor. She died in the 60s. She died young. She was 30 something. Marilyn Monroe.
Ah,
Marilyn Monroe. She was in a film with. She was in a film. She's walking past. She's walking down a train platform, and she does this walk, and it's just famous. Just the walk itself is famous because of the way she's rolling her hips and
yeah.
and everything. And then finally, there's a black actress called Sanaa Lathan, and she's in a film called Love and Basketball. Now, somewhere in there, she's walking away from the camera, and it's amazing. So those three instances, if you want to look at what we're talking about, you've got three instances.
Yeah,
there.
it does attract the eye. Absolutely, it does.
It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially these are famous examples of them.
Indeed. Okay,
Anyway,
in
that's me.
summary, because I want to quickly touch on a quick subject on top of this, but in summary, what's your view about this question? Is it wrong to objectify women?
No, it isn't.
Interesting.
By objectify, I do not mean ever physical touching. So I don't mean that, and I don't mean being insulting. So I wonder if feminists would agree that my definition of objectifying is theirs. They probably say that mine is too narrow. So that's why maybe that's why I say there's nothing wrong with it, because to me it's just not seeing the person,
Yeah.
just seeing the thing
Yeah.
that is the person, right?
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
saying there's nothing wrong with that, because we all do that. I objectify men all the time because I don't know who you are, so I just treat you as a generic man.
Mm.
And I treat some women as, well, yeah, some women as generic women. I don't know you. Why would I treat you as anything else? That's what I mean. But then if you start talking about pinching bottoms and stuff,
Yeah,
well,
that's different. Yeah, that's beyond the
that's
line.
not what I'm
No,
talking
no,
about
no,
at all.
No, that's gone too far. No. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Very quickly, because I'm mindful of the time. We haven't got a lot of time to cover this next topic. But this was a question again you raised and seems to be quite prevalent. And it's, why are American men refusing to work? Now, obviously, we're mindful of the time. We haven't got a lot to talk about it. What do you want to say about this? Is there a fact?
Well, it is a fact, and I came across it in the Manners Fair, which I visit quite often. And apparently, up to 7 million native-born Americans, men, have chosen to not participate in the workplace, and they're not necessarily looking for work either. So
What's
I
the
don't.
reason? How are they sustaining their livelihoods if they're not working?
Well, apparently, partners and things like that.
Oh, I see.
They they manage maybe living at home. Uh,
And why
so
so many? Because that's quite a number. 7 million out of an American. Okay, American population is huge. I
yes,
mean,
it's
there's 330
300
million.
there we
But
go,
then
yes.
let's say it's 50-50 split. That's 125 million men.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my maths are rubbish. 160, 160 million men and so forth. But then obviously,
115, who's counting?
yeah, anyway, the then you've got a
165.
percentage of children. So if we're talking 7 million men,
Mm. Someone says
that's
about
probably
15%.
10%.
Someone said about 15% of
That's
the
quite
workforce.
high.
And I'm prepared to share some links with you. So I'm going to copy them and send them to you, and then you can share them with our audience. Yes,
Yeah.
as usual. And apparently, lots of men feel that they can't get a fair shake in the workplace.
Oh, right.
That the numbers of men going to college, as they call university in
Yep.
America, has dropped precipitously. Men now account for only 40% of the places
But
in college.
isn't this because obviously in America you've got to pay your way through college, which is university, and most of them have to have a job. And if you've no longer got a job for whatever reason, then that's when you fall out of college. Isn't that the case?
Well, it's not that they're falling out of college. They're not going to college in the first place. They're just not going to college.
So why is that? Is that? Are you sure? Are you sure it's not disillusionment with the workforce itself? I'm seeing a figure here. Actually, I've just pulled up something from CBS News actually, which
Uh,
seems to it's giving me a diagram. I don't know
oh
whether I
yes,
can actually share
I've
this.
I've got that. Yeah, I think I've even got the same. I don't know the CPS, but I've got the one with the.
Yeah, and it shows this trend, and obviously the workforce dipped during COVID, and it
Mm,
looks like it has recovered, but recovered for age range 25 to 34. That's recovered reasonably well. It's recovered for 45 to 54-year-olds. However, the group in the middle, 35 to 44, it's dropped. So
mhm.
it's that demographic, 35 to 44 group, for some reason, it's dropping. So they're the ones who would appear to be disillusioned with work. And what's the reason? Because clearly 35 to 44, that's not your college age person, is it?
Well, because if you don't go to college, apparently it's far harder to find a job in America. The blue collar jobs were exported to China years ago, so it's mostly white collar jobs now.
And you need to be a college
And
degree.
you need to have a college degree. And one of the most not pertinent, one of the most insightful, it's not the word I was looking for, but it will do. One of the most insightful comments I read on this is someone wrote in and said, "Why? You mean that all the women that you have diversity hired ahead of me are taking my job from me or something, something along those lines." And all the women diversity hire CEOs make me want to compete because it's no longer on merit. So a lot of
Well,
like
there is an argument on that,
men say that
absolutely.
they don't feel that
Yeah.
they get, especially white men, they say they don't feel they're getting a fair shake, and
Well,
they
you're
work
right
hard.
in that respect. If that's the case, if you've now got a situation where you're not hiring people based on their level of competence and their knowledge, you're hiring based on a diversity hire, then those white men in particular are disenfranchised because they've already starting on a wrong footing. They
Yeah,
can't compete. What do they need to do, if anything at all, to compete? If the job has been allocated to a particular demographic and not white men, so they've got no hope. The job market has drastically reduced because it doesn't matter what they do, it doesn't matter what skill set they have. They're going to be overlooked if the job itself means you've got to either be an AI machine or a diversity hire.
Mm.
You're not the best person for the job. It's just to tick a tick box,
I
which
mean, well, it's pretty amazing when you think about it that there are actual advertisements. And by the way, here in the UK, which says that we're looking for this particular demographic.
that's
So
against the law.
if
I
you're not,
thought that
well,
was against the law.
I've seen them. I've
I
seen
don't
them.
believe that
I
they
mean,
can
I
actually
might.
explicitly say that. That's
Oh,
against the
well,
law.
I've seen them, and I might be able to benefit from them myself, but I still think they're pretty disgusting.
Well, they should. Yeah, there shouldn't be. You shouldn't actually nominate a particular culture or disability or sexual orientation on a hiring form. That's illegal. It's got to be candidates, and that's
I mean,
everybody.
I think you need to double check because if it's illegal, there are a lot of people doing very illegal things, and it's not even hidden.
Possibly,
So why would
possibly,
they?
unless
Why
someone
would they not hide it?
because nobody's whistleblowing and highlighting it. There are some practices that's still being done by some bigger corporates, which if you look at their practices, you think, hold on a minute, that's really close to being dodgy. But they get
Hmm.
away with it because no one's actually sort of highlighted it to the authorities. The authorities can only do so much. They also need help from the public where things are identified as being incorrect. So if you've genuinely seen companies recruiting for a particular demographic and isolating others, then that's not right. That's against the law. You can't do that.
Well, we'll have to let it go on this occasion because I don't have any examples to hand,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Okay. I mean, all right, going back to the very quickly because I'm mindful of the time. What's your view about this demographic in America that seem to be the ones, 7
It's
million of
interesting.
them? Hmm.
It's interesting. When I started out, I was because I heard it from the manosphere, so I was pretty much, yeah, it's yet another example of men being put upon. But then I read a couple of comments from some people, some men, saying actually when they claim that there are jobs to be had, there aren't. That corporations actually say we have vacancies, but no matter what you do, you can't fill those vacancies. Those vacancies don't truly exist.
Oh,
So that the job market isn't as robust as it is thought to be. Now,
interesting.
I don't know why corporations would pretend to have jobs and have no intention of filling them, but I do know that I have attended when I was a software developer, I attended many interviews and for jobs that subsequently were never filled by anyone. So not just me, we can't all have been not suitable for the role. And you think, well, you ask the agent, well, why on earth did they advertise? I said, well, the budget disappeared or something.
Well,
So
that can happen, and
yeah,
also
but it
they
happened too
can.
often. To me, it seems as if it's like a make us seem as if we are doing something. Never mind that you're
Interesting.
calling
I don't
somebody
see
halfway
what
across the
benefit
country.
that gives because all you're
I don't
doing
know.
is occupying people's time
Yeah,
needlessly.
wasting my time.
Yeah,
I'm crossing the
exactly.
country, driving down to blooming Wiltshire on one occasion. That was really annoying. Uh, it's not good enough, frankly. So when these people are saying, yeah, they say that there are jobs out there. So I think the problem is one has to dig deeper into this. It could be that there's more to this than even just the 7 million sitting at home.
But could it
And
be that these are just not looking for jobs? Is this the argument here? Or are they
the
looking and
argument
get
is
rejected? This is the,
the
we're not
argument.
sure.
That's what we're not sure about because the
Yeah.
argument is that these are men who are not looking for jobs, but anecdotally, I've seen two comments, and I know it's only 2 out of 7 million. I've seen two comments. No, I've stopped looking because I got fed up because I
Oh,
was attending all these, I was pursuing all these so-called jobs, and I wasn't getting anywhere. I just
see.
got fed up.
Wow. Okay. I mean, unfortunately, we could go on at length here, but we have reached the end of the show for another week.
Right.